Hi, my name's Niki Crew and I'm very happy to be taking part in the Discover, Gather, Give Digital Craft Festival. I'm an artist, a maker and also at the moment a full-time teacher. I've been making and teaching for about 30 years now. Started originally as a printmaker and I currently work using fused glass. I also have taught at universities and colleges and I'm currently full-time in a secondary school in Chipping, Camden. And through my teaching, I've come to understand how difficult it can be to start a creative journey. So we see hundreds of students who are really keen to do their own work, but find it very difficult to begin. And one of the tools that we use is a sketchbook. But I've also seen how daunting a brand new sketchbook can be and how students worry about every piece of work that they put in it, and that can hold the creative journey back. So we're going to be looking at different types of sketchbooks and ways in which you can demystify them and take the pressure off yourself, particularly that first page, and use them as a vehicle to help you become the kind of artist, designer or maker that you would like to be. So this is my current sketchbook. It's a square sketchbook that's designed to take a certain amount of wet media. So when you're looking for sketchbooks, you need to have a think about the way that you would like to work in it. So think about the weight of the paper. Basically, the heavier the paper, the more water it will take normally. So if you want to paint in your sketchbook, then you want to look for one with a fairly robust sort of paper quality. If you're just going to draw in it in pencil, then you can go a little bit lighter, and there's some lovely sort of Japanese papers around that are beautiful to draw with pen and ink. This one I'd been given some nice marker pens and I wanted to have a go with those, so I bought a sketchbook that was suitable for it. And what makes it suitable is that it has heavier paper, but it also comes with a plastic sheet that allows you to put it in between your pages so that the ink doesn't carry over. You can see just about that through the pages, the backs of the pages, you can see a certain amount of the ink coming through. And that's just something that, you know, I could solve if I was doing it as a presentation sketchbook by sticking other pieces of paper over, working on them and sticking them in. I bought a sketchbook that's got perforations in it because I know that there'll be pages that I don't like, that I'm unhappy with, and I can take them out or stick over the top of them. And you can see this one is really focusing on sort of plants and foliage, which is something that I'm hoping to develop in my new glass work over this year. So so the sketchbooks, I like working in a square, but it's, you know, complete preference in the way that you work. But I enjoy the format of a square. I like circles and squares, the regularity appeals to me. But as I said, there's hundreds of sketchbooks out there, and just choose one that suits you, but think about the materials that you'd like to use in it, and that may help your choice. As I said, working in a traditional sketchbook can be a little bit daunting when you're first starting your creative journey, and you can create sketchbooks out of single pieces of paper. Much cheaper, much less frightening, because if it goes wrong it doesn't really matter, and smaller scale, so that you can start to sort of develop your style, look at the things that you're interested in recording without potentially messing up a sketchbook that's cost you a few pounds. So this is a little sketchbook that's been made with a single piece of paper, and I'm going to show you how to make 3 different types of sketchbooks that can all be used as a starting point for your sketchbook journey. And this is a really simple single page sketchbook, but you can join together several and you can make it out of it. This one's made out of a single piece of A4, and it's just a way of beginning. But before you go and buy an expensive sketchbook, in a way of finding out what you'd like to do and in the spirit of experimentation without spending a lot of money, there are ways of making sketchbooks out of single pieces of A4 paper. This is a sketchbook that's made in that way. It's actually a couple of sketchbooks put together with a little piece of ribbon, but a single sketchbook made like this gives you 6 pages. And it can be this small. This is made with an A4 piece of paper, or you can use an A3 piece of paper, and you'll get a sketchbook twice this size, so essentially that big. And these little sketchbooks are a great way of sort of blasting through some ideas, trying things out, and not feeling so precious about it if it goes wrong. And they're also really nice to take away if you're going away for on an outing, maybe just going to visit a garden, or going somewhere where you think you might have 10 minutes to sit and sketch, but you don't want to cart a big sketchbook around and a lot of materials. If you pop one of these in a bag and take a pen or a pencil with you, you can, you might just find that you spot a view or something that you would like to draw, and you can record it. As I said, without the weight and sort of planning needed in taking a sketchbook and a lot of materials with you. So it's something you can tuck in a bag and have with you at all times. So I'm going to show you how to make one of those. I'm also going to show you how to make a Japanese fold sketchbook. So we make these a lot at school because they're a great way of developing students' ideas and their composition planning. And this is just a concertina fold sketchbook, but again, you can make it with a piece of A4 paper, and it's a nice way of working in that your ideas can develop from page to page. At school we do them so that they flow from one page to another, so you have to think about how you can link images together. But again, it's a cheap, easy way to make a sketchbook that you can sort of start creating in without that intimidation factor of a brand new sketchbook. The final one I'm going to show you is called a lotus fold sketchbook, and these are great fun. These are often called exploding sketchbooks. You need a couple of pieces of A4, probably 3 at best, and it's a little bit of origami, but it makes a sketchbook that's great fun to work in and folds down to a little square but can pop out to reveal different ideas, patterns, textures, mark making and things like that. So to create your little 8-page sketchbook, the first thing you'll need is a piece of paper. Obviously consider the type of paper you're going to use. So if you want to paint on it, as I say, you'll need some heavier paper. If it's for general drawing, this is cartridge paper. And the heavier it is, generally, the more you can throw at it before it starts to struggle. But you can start absolutely with printer paper and a pencil. So it doesn't have to be an expensive. The whole point of this is to try and reduce the intimidation factor. In order to make your sketchbook, it's quite straightforward. You need to take it and fold it from long end to long end. So the neater you can make your folds, the neater your sketchbook will be in the end. So fold it that way, and then you open it out, and you're going to fold it in half the other way, and that will create a sort of central cross on your sketchbook like that. Nice sharp creases. Open it out again, and I will turn it over at this point because it helps with the folding later. And then you take your end up to the middle like that. So try and line it up nice and carefully with your creases and your existing edges. Turn it round and fold it again. Take it to the middle like that. And you can see then that we've created the 8 pages of your sketchbook. So you've got 8 different sections, not 6 different sections, as I said in the introduction, 8 different sections. And you're ready to, you need to make one single cut in order to make your sketchbook. So what I'm going to do is put it like that and lift this bit up in the middle. So you've got that, and you need to cut from the fold to the bottom there. So you're just going in the upright section, and you're just going to cut down this section here. So I'm just going to use a pair of scissors. So hold it nice and tight together and just cut to the centre like that. And that gives me that shape there. From there, it's very simple. Pick it up, push it so that you create that, and then just fold it over and push your creases in. And that's your little sketchbook. So there we go. And then if you want to join more sketchbooks together, on this one I've just used a ribbon and joined several little sketchbooks together, and you could keep going. You could add and add and add till it almost looked like a Rolodex. You could have them so that they went round in a circle almost. This is one that I've made using an A3 piece of paper, so you can see it's twice the size. And I think these are perfect to start your sketchbook journey without that fear of wasting a lot of paper or a lot of money. But it's also a really good idea to tuck one of those in your bag if you're going anywhere for the day or going on holiday and you don't want to carry a lot of bulky drawing materials with you. A little sketchbook like that, it'll allow you to do maybe 8 little sketches in a day that you could record your day, or things that you've seen that might inspire you when you go back home. The second type of sketchbook I'm going to show you is a Japanese fold sketchbook, or a concertina sketchbook. And you can buy these, companies make them, but they're quite expensive. And if you've never used one before, this is a good way of testing out to see whether you would enjoy working in that format. So again, very simple to make. You'll need a piece of paper and a pair of scissors and some glue. So again, you start by folding top edge, bottom edge on the long edge, and creasing down the middle. And then you need to open that up and just cut as neatly as you can down the centre of your piece of paper. Now you can fold your paper into a square, like this one, by just marking off where you want to make your first fold, or you can simply fold your paper in half and use its natural proportions. So we fold it in half, and then we're going to fold back to the crease, and there we go. So turn it over as your central crease, take the short end and fold it back to the centre. And there is the simplest form of concertina fold. So you've got your 4 pages there. If you take your second piece of paper and do the same again, so we're taking the short edge over to the short edge, folding, and then we're taking the short edge back to the centre crease, like that, and fold again, turn it over, and fold it again. That gives you your concertina, and then it's very simple then to simply join on using a glue stick so that you create a sort of longer sketchbook. So I'm just going to use glue stick. Make sure I put a good covering on there. And then we want to follow this on, so we want it to zigzag. So I'm going to take this edge and join it to this one. And again, I just need to make sure I take a bit of time to join it together nice and neatly. I'm just going to take these and make sure that I spend a little bit of time and care just joining the 2 sketchbooks together so that they flow naturally. Like that. There we go. And as I say, if you take the time to measure out a square, then you can create the concertina that I've got there just with square pages instead of rectangular ones. The final sketchbook I'm going to show you is sometimes called an exploding sketchbook. It's based on a lotus fold, and it's got a lovely sort of pop-up feel to it. This is the most complicated sketchbook, and you need at least 2 pages to create it, but this one's created with 3. So I'm going to show you how to make this. And I think this is a lovely way of trying out different colorways, different ideas. It gives you a triangular page or a square page, So there's lots of different options for how to use these. We use them at school for beginning mark making when they start in sixth form. I've got this one is my colour palette for my felt tip pens, where I found the tops weren't really a true reflection of the colours inside the pen. So I just kept adding and colouring one in, and then I've marked on the different pen numbers so that I know if I'm looking for a particular colour of vivid green, I know that I need to look for number 46 in my big box of pens. So that's a sort of practical use of them. So with your Lotus Fold sketchbook, you need to start with a diagonal fold. So I'm going to take the short edge over to the long edge and create a nice crisp fold down the centre like that. And then I don't need this portion of the sketchbook, so I'm going to turn that over and fold it back and give myself a guideline to cut along. Just going to fold that there, and this bit we don't need for this sketchbook, but if you keep these pieces, they do make a nice little Japanese fold. So I'm going to just cut along there. As neatly as I can. Obviously, if you've got access to a craft knife and a cutting mat and a nice metal ruler, then that makes easier work of it. And you can see that I've got a square piece of paper with a fold down the middle. I then want to fold across to create another diagonal. So I'm going to just fold across like that. And then I'm going to turn it over, and I'm just going to fold that one the other way as well, because it will help me when we try and pop the sketchbook into its format. Now I'm going to take the edges, so edge to edge as well as point to point, to create all the little triangles that you need in a Lotus Fold. Across there, over there to there. And then it's really a case of just pushing your sketchbook together. So, so what I'm going to do is just turn my sketchbook over and take these points and bring them together like that. And then I'm going to turn my sketchbook and I'm going to push like that. So you end up with this shape here, which is where the lotus flower analogy comes from. So I'll show you that again. So you've got your page folded across in a from corner to corner and edge to edge to make all the little triangles, and then you turn it over and make one of your diamond folds, your diagonal folds, go the opposite direction. Then you pick up the corners and pull them together, and then you should be able to just push these bits together to make your lotus fold. And there's a single Lotus Fold sketchbook, so it's just a simple square, but with these you can join them together. So here's another one that I've made, and again I'm going to take the corner to corners and create, so I've got two Lotus Fold sketchbooks the same. Now when you join these together, you need to join a folded end to an open end, so the bottom of the sketchbook essentially goes to the top. So put this piece down on the table, pick up your glue stick and glue across your panel. And then this is the open end, so I need to take the closed end and just line them up and stick them down like that. Okay. And then you can see that those sketchbooks then will open and fold together, and then you can add a third one onto this end here, and that will make a sketchbook like this one here. So this is 1 square, 2 squares and 3 squares, and these overlap in the center, so you lose 2 squares of the middle piece of paper, because that's your overlap, and that's how your sketchbook then joins together. So I hope that's given you some ideas about 3 small sketchbooks that can be easily made from just a few pieces of paper They can begin your journey by giving you a sort of safe space that's not expensive, that hasn't cost you a fortune, and that you don't mind maybe ripping up and reusing, or taking the best bits from and maybe transferring those into a more expensive sketchbook when you feel more confident. But they're also great for just experimenting mark making when you're thinking about a new idea. They're great for taking out and about with you. They're really good for mark making. So when you're trying new colours or new paints or new materials in some way, and recording those experiments for reference later on. And as I say, they're great for travelling with. So if you don't want to take a big heavy sketchbook with you everywhere, stick one of those and a pen or a biro or a pencil in your bag, and you've got a little space where you can record lots of information that you see when you're out and about. So I hope that's given you some ideas. As I say, we use them all the time at school. We find them very good ways of getting people over the fear of beginning. And also they're great to look back on, and they can become a really addictive way of working. So lots of people only use Japanese fold sketchbooks because they like the way that the images can flow, the ideas can flow. The pop-up sketchbooks are great fun, and you can keep adding and adding, and they can become great big long affairs that just surprise people when they look at your work for the first time. But hopefully it's given you some ideas and given you a starting point, and I hope you enjoy them and have a little bit of fun just becoming more creative. Thank you. Bye bye.